The digital world sold you a lie. It promised freedom, expression, visibility, connection. But beneath the glowing screens and endless feeds lives something older than technology itself. Power. The same invisible force that shaped courts, kingdoms, and wars now moves silently through algorithms, timelines, and notifications. Nothing has changed except the battlefield. You are still either predator or prey, controller or controlled, seen or forgotten. Machiavelli would not be impressed by the internet. He would recognize it instantly. A theater of perception, a marketplace of influence, a stage where reputation moves faster than truth. He understood that people do not respond to reality. They respond to what they believe reality to be. And digital life is built entirely from belief. Profiles, opinions, numbers, status signals. None of it is solid, yet it governs behavior more effectively than any law. You think you are scrolling. In truth, you are being conditioned. Every swipe trains your attention. Every like adjusts your internal map of status. You begin to measure yourself against strangers you will never meet. Their victories feel personal. Their failures feel satisfying. This is not an accident. Human beings evolved inside hierarchies where survival depended on reading social cues with obsessive precision. The modern feed hijacks this ancient instinct. It floods your brain with signals of rank and belonging, forcing your nervous system to react as if your social survival depends on it, because psychologically it does. And here is the first truth most people refuse to face. Visibility is power, but uncontrolled visibility is weakness. The desperate reveal too much. They speak too often. They expose their emotions for validation. They believe honesty is strength, but the crowd does not reward honesty. The crowd rewards spectacle. Those who understand this shape perception deliberately. They reveal only what increases status. They hide what weakens position. They speak less, but when they do, it lands heavier. This is not deception. This is strategy. The human mind is not built for endless exposure to thousands of personalities competing for dominance. It reacts with comparison, envy, imitation. Slowly, unconsciously, you begin to perform instead of thinking. You adapt your voice to be accepted. You soften your edges. You seek approval signals because rejection feels like exile. And exile, in evolutionary terms, once meant death. The machine knows this. That is why it keeps you engaged. Fear of invisibility is stronger than the desire for truth. Machiavelli's rulebook begins with a question you avoid asking yourself. Are you using the digital world, or is it using you? Most people never pause long enough to answer honestly. They confuse activity with control. But movement is not power. Noise is not influence. The loudest person in the room often reveals the deepest insecurity. Power online does not come from shouting. It comes from framing, the ability to shape how others interpret reality before they realize they have accepted your perspective. A single sentence placed calmly can dominate 100 emotional reactions. A pause can create anticipation stronger than any argument. The strongest presence is not the one that demands attention, but the one that makes others lean in without understanding why. This is where predator and prey separate. Prey reacts, predator observes. Prey seeks validation, predator studies patterns. Prey consumes endlessly, predator selects carefully. The digital landscape magnifies this divide because every action leaves a trace. Your behavior tells the world what you are without you ever saying it. Impulsive, controlled, strategic, replaceable. And now you begin to see the uncomfortable reality. Digital life is not about sharing yourself. It is about managing perception while resisting manipulation at the same time. A double battle, one external, one internal. The first requires strategy, the second requires discipline. Because the greatest danger is not the algorithm, it is the slow erosion of your identity as you adapt to the expectations of the crowd. When you forget who is choosing and who is being chosen, you surrender power without realizing it. You become predictable input in a system built to harvest attention. And once you are predictable, someone else writes your story.
The second rule Machiavelli would impose on digital life is simple but brutal. Never confuse attention with power. Attention is loud, temporary, unstable. Power is quiet, controlled, and selective. Most people spend their digital existence chasing reactions. They measure their worth through numbers that rise and fall with invisible currents. But numbers do not equal influence. Influence is what happens after people stop scrolling. You have seen it before. A person floods the world with opinions, posts constantly, reacts to everything, proves their intelligence again and again. For a moment, they appear strong, but over time, something strange happens. Their words lose weight. Predictability kills impact. The mind adapts quickly to repetition. What once felt bold becomes background noise. The crowd moves on. Machiavelli understood scarcity long before algorithms existed. What is rare gains perceived value. What is constantly available becomes disposable. This is why restraint creates authority. When you speak less, people listen harder. When you reveal less, people project more onto you. The human mind fills gaps with imagination, and imagination always exaggerates power. Your silence is not emptiness, it is tension, a held breath, a psychological pressure that forces others to wonder what you are thinking, where you stand, what you might do next, and uncertainty is a form of control. The moment people begin trying to interpret you, you have shifted the balance. They are thinking about you more than you are thinking about them. Now understand the deeper mechanism. Human beings crave certainty because uncertainty feels dangerous. Online, this craving becomes extreme. People announce their beliefs loudly to signal tribe loyalty. They fear ambiguity because ambiguity risks social isolation. But the strategist uses ambiguity carefully, not confusion, but controlled openness. Enough clarity to establish strength, enough mystery to prevent complete capture. At this moment, you should recognize something important. If you are hearing this and feeling discomfort, that is good. It means the old habits are being challenged. And those who understand the value of this knowledge make a simple decision right now. Like this video and subscribe, not as a favor, as a signal, a quiet declaration that you are choosing awareness over passivity. Because once you see the game, you cannot return to innocence. You begin noticing how outrage spreads faster than insight, how conflict attracts engagement, how the loudest voices often depend on the crowd's emotional addiction to survive. These are not accidents. They are predictable outcomes of human psychology amplified by technology. Fear drives attention. Anger sustains it. Curiosity controls it. The strategist uses curiosity, a carefully placed statement that challenges assumptions without fully resolving them, a pause that allows tension to build. The mind hates unfinished patterns, so it leans forward seeking completion. This is why some voices hold power even when they say very little. They make people think, and thinking creates investment. But there is danger here. If you misuse this knowledge, you become trapped by your own image. Many attempt to appear powerful and end up imprisoned by performance. They build a persona so rigid that they cannot evolve without losing credibility. Machiavelli would warn you, never become a slave to the perception you create. You must control it without believing it. Digital life rewards extremes, but real power lives in control. Controlled emotion, controlled exposure, controlled reaction. The strongest move is often to watch while others reveal themselves. Every argument shows you who reacts impulsively. Every emotional outburst exposes weakness. Every desperate attempt for approval reveals dependency. You are not here to join the noise. You are here to understand the structure beneath it. And as you continue to observe, a new awareness begins to form. The digital crowd behaves like a single organism, emotional, reactive, easily guided. Most people move with it without realizing they are being moved. Few ever step outside long enough to see the pattern. Now we will move deeper into that pattern, into the mechanics of identity itself, how the digital world reshapes who you believe you are, and how the ones who understand this can quietly reshape everyone else. But before we go deeper, answer this quietly to yourself. When you enter a digital space, are you observing or performing? The difference decides whether you control perception or become consumed by it. Most people never ask this question. They simply react. They post. They defend. They chase approval without realizing they are feeding something larger than themselves. Now I want you to do something small but revealing. Comment below with one word that describes how the online world really makes you feel, not what you pretend to feel, the real word. Because the moment you name it, you begin to see the pattern more clearly. Here is the hidden mechanism Machiavelli would study. Identity online is not discovered, it is constructed. Layer by layer, interaction by interaction, you shape a version of yourself that the crowd can understand quickly. You simplify, you exaggerate certain traits, you silence others. Over time, this digital persona starts to influence your real decisions. The mask stops being a tool and starts becoming a cage. Humans evolved to survive through social belonging. Your ancestors who were rejected by the group faced danger. That ancient fear still lives inside you. Digital platforms exploit it perfectly. Every notification becomes a tiny signal of acceptance. Every silence feels like rejection. Without realizing it, you begin adjusting behavior to maintain connection. You soften controversial thoughts. You amplify what gets rewarded. You become optimized for reaction. The tragedy is that most people believe they are expressing themselves more freely than ever. In reality, they are more conditioned than any generation before them. Algorithms do not force you directly. They reward patterns, and the human mind follows rewards automatically. This is conditioning at scale, invisible, efficient, relentless. Machiavelli would not fight this system emotionally. He would study it coldly. He understood that power belongs to those who understand incentives. If people reward outrage, outrage spreads. If they reward certainty, nuance dies. If they reward vulnerability, vulnerability becomes performance. None of this is moral or immoral. It is simply how human attention behaves under pressure. And this is where the predator metaphor becomes clear. Prey moves by instinct. It reacts to every sound, every shadow, every shift in the environment. Predator remains still. It watches patterns. It knows that movement attracts attention, and attention reveals position. In digital life, every unnecessary reaction reveals your emotional triggers. When someone can predict your reaction, they can control you. The strongest presence online is not the most active, it is the most composed. Calmness signals power because it suggests independence from external validation. When others argue frantically, the one who remains silent appears above the conflict, not because they are better, but because they are less controlled by immediate emotion. This creates a subtle inversion. The crowd believes dominance comes from visibility, yet true influence often comes from selective withdrawal. When you step back, others fill the silence with assumptions. They project strength onto restraint. The less you chase attention, the more attention follows naturally. Human psychology respects what seems unattainable. But there is a deeper danger you must recognize. Once you understand these dynamics, you will begin seeing through other people's performances. You will recognize manufactured authenticity, strategic outrage, calculated vulnerability. At first, this feels empowering. Then it becomes isolating, because illusion binds most social structures together. Seeing the machinery behind the curtain changes how you interact forever. You will notice people competing for status disguised as morality. You will see alliances formed not from truth, but from shared visibility. You will realize that many digital conflicts are not about ideas at all. They are territorial displays, signals of dominance dressed as opinion. And then a new question emerges. If identity online is shaped by external rewards, who are you without the audience? Who decides what you believe when no one is watching? This is where Machiavelli's rulebook turns inward. The real battlefield is not the feed, it is your own attention. Whoever controls that controls everything else.
Emotion is the currency of the digital world. Not logic, not truth, emotion. Every platform survives on it, every viral moment depends on it, and every conflict expands because emotion spreads faster than thought. Machiavelli would see this immediately. He understood that people rarely act from reason, they act from feeling, and then invent explanations afterward. The one who understands emotion does not need to argue, they only need to guide the current. You believe you choose what affects you, but watch carefully. A single headline alters your mood. A comment challenges your identity. A stranger's success creates unease you cannot explain. This is emotional contagion, a primitive survival system designed to synchronize groups under threat. In ancient tribes, shared emotion kept people united. Online, it turns millions into a single reactive organism. The crowd becomes predictable. Fear spreads instantly. Outrage multiplies exponentially. Approval creates addiction. Once you understand this, you stop asking what is true and start asking what emotion is being engineered, because every message carries an emotional payload. Calm signals authority. Anger signals urgency. Vulnerability signals trust. Dominance signals certainty. The strategist chooses their emotional display deliberately. Most people betray themselves through reaction speed. Immediate responses reveal impulsiveness. Impulsiveness signals weakness. When someone can provoke you easily, they control the conversation without saying a word. Machiavelli would teach patience as a weapon. Delay your reaction. Observe the intention behind the provocation. Often the strongest response is none at all. Silence again becomes power, but this time not as mystery, as emotional control. When you refuse to mirror the crowd's energy, you step outside the cycle. Others may rage, you remain still. That stillness unsettles people because it breaks expectation. Humans trust patterns. When the pattern breaks, attention shifts. Suddenly, you are not another participant. You are the center of gravity. Understand the psychology beneath this. Emotional regulation signals status because throughout evolution, leaders needed composure during chaos. Panic spreads downward. Calm spreads upward. The person who stays steady during conflict is perceived as stronger, more capable, more trustworthy, even when they say very little. This perception alone creates influence. But control is not suppression, it is direction. The strategist does not feel less, they choose what to reveal and when. Controlled emotion becomes a tool to guide perception. A measured display of intensity can command attention more effectively than constant intensity. Contrast creates impact. Precision creates authority.
Now the warning. Many who discover these principles become cold performers, detached from everything. That is not strength. That is fear disguised as control. Machiavelli respected effectiveness, not emptiness. Real power requires understanding emotion deeply enough to use it without being consumed by it. If you numb yourself completely, you lose connection. If you drown in emotion, you lose control. The balance is where influence lives. Digital life constantly tries to pull you toward extremes because extremes generate engagement. The strategist resists. They understand that the crowd swings between worship and outrage with equal speed. Today's hero becomes tomorrow's villain. Those who crave approval inevitably fear rejection. Fear makes them predictable. Predictability destroys power. So you begin to move differently. You speak less urgently. You react less impulsively. You observe before engaging. People sense the shift, even if they cannot explain it. You are no longer competing for attention. You are deciding when attention matters. And this is where the final transformation begins. Once you control emotion, you start controlling perception. Once you control perception, you begin shaping the behavior of others without direct force. Influence becomes subtle, almost invisible, a quiet redirection, a suggestion framed as certainty, a presence that changes the tone of the room. The last step is the most dangerous because it separates observers from architects. In this final part, we will step into the inner circle, the mindset of those who no longer drift through digital life, but design their place within it. Now you stand at the threshold where most people turn back. Understanding perception, identity, and emotion is already dangerous knowledge. But the final rule in Machiavelli's digital rulebook goes further. It asks you to stop thinking like a participant entirely. The crowd lives inside the system. The strategist studies the system itself. Digital life appears chaotic, but chaos always hides structure. Patterns repeat. Outrage cycles return. New trends imitate old instincts dressed in modern language. People believe they are independent thinkers while moving together in predictable waves. This is not because they are foolish. It is because human nature has not changed. Technology accelerated behavior. It did not evolve it. The elite advantage has always belonged to those who understand timing, not speed. Timing. Knowing when to appear, when to withdraw, when to speak, when to let silence grow heavy. The crowd reacts to the moment. The strategist moves ahead of it. They anticipate emotional swings before they happen because they understand the triggers beneath them. Here is the uncomfortable truth you must accept. Most digital identities collapse because they try to be liked by everyone. Machiavelli would reject this instantly. Universal approval is weakness. Power requires clarity. Clarity attracts allies and repels others, and that is how hierarchy forms. The attempt to avoid conflict makes you forgettable. The willingness to stand firm, calmly, deliberately, makes you memorable. But remember, dominance is rarely loud. The strongest digital presence often feels inevitable rather than aggressive. A quiet authority, a consistent tone, a signal that this person knows exactly who they are and does not chase the crowd for validation. Humans gravitate towards certainty because certainty feels safe. Even those who disagree still pay attention. As you apply this rulebook, something shifts inside you. You stop measuring yourself through reactions. Metrics lose emotional power over you. You see attention as a resource, not a reflection of identity. You begin protecting your focus the way rulers once protected borders, because attention is territory. Whoever occupies it shapes your reality. And now comes the final inversion. Earlier, you learned that perception creates power. Now you realize the opposite is also true. Power creates perception. When you decide your standards internally instead of externally, the digital world changes shape around you. Approval becomes optional, silence becomes strategic, presence becomes intentional. This is the difference between influence and addiction. The addicted seek constant stimulation. The influential choose when to engage. The addicted fear being forgotten. The influential understand that absence can increase gravity. People remember what does not beg to be remembered. Yet there is a responsibility hidden here. Once you see the mechanics of behavior, manipulation becomes easy, too easy. The weak use knowledge to dominate others impulsively. The disciplined use it to maintain control over themselves first. Because the greatest trap is believing you are above human nature. No one is. The strategist simply understands it better and refuses to be ruled by it. Look back at who you were when you started listening. You probably thought digital life was random, shaped by luck, algorithms, or trends. Now you know it is shaped by psychology, by hierarchy, by attention, by perception, and most of all, by choice. The final secret Machiavelli would whisper is this: power is not something you take once, it is something you maintain daily through awareness. The moment you drift into unconscious reaction, you surrender it again. The moment you chase approval, you hand control back to the crowd. Discipline is the price of influence. So the question is no longer whether the digital world is manipulative. It always has been. The real question is whether you remain prey within it or become deliberate, calm, observant, intentional. Someone who understands the rules while others still argue about the game. If you made it here, you are already different. You are not here for noise. You are here for clarity, strategy, and control. Those who choose that path don't hesitate. They step into the inner circle. Like this video and subscribe.